Hey, everybody. It's Andrea once again, president and co-founder of the Stigma-Free Society. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. We have so many remarkable guests today, and we really are excited to have Ali Spears with us. So hi, Ali. How are you doing today?
I'm awesome. Thanks so much for having me. How are you?
I am great. It's been a great day. There's a lot of support and people coming forward, and I hope that you'll be able to attend our documentary tonight. We would love for you to see it. And your bio is actually really inspiring, and I thought I should just share that with people. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks.
Okay. So Ali was born and raised in Northern California and attended Texas A&M University. After graduating with her degree in agribusiness, she worked for TAMU in the poultry science department as a program coordinator. She also owns an antique and home decor business with her mom, Junk and Disorderly, I like that, and an agricultural advocacy-based brand, AgChicks, which is so cool. She has a podcast as well, The Dirt. Love that. You come up with the best names.
Thank you.
And The Dirt highlights individuals in agriculture. Ali will be starting her master's in May in ag leadership, education, and communications. She really hopes to learn how to better educate consumers and youth about agriculture. So thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Definitely. Okay, so we really reached out to you. I believe it was on Instagram, and we were really interested in what you were doing and admire a lot of the work that you accomplish in the world. And it was because we launched our, as you know, the Rural Mental Wellness Toolkit, and you're one of our inspiring stories, and we hope to engage you as one of our champions in the future to do further collaboration. So we would love to ask you some questions, and I would really love to talk about you and the work that you do and why do you do it. So if you want to give me a little bit of a backstory, that would be awesome.
Yeah. So like you mentioned, I'm originally from Northern California and moved to Texas to attend Texas A&M, where I got my undergrad, and shortly after graduated, started working for the poultry science department. But like a lot of people, and again, I grew up in the agriculture industry where I showed livestock and my family was on a farming operation. So really deeply rooted in agriculture and livestock and just kind of that traditional way of life. Fast forward to coming to Texas, and obviously the world changed in 2020 with the big C, right? COVID absolutely changed things.
Yeah.
So I was sent home to work remotely, and I kind of had, for a couple months leading up to that, felt like I was just not totally being fulfilled, and not really kind of doing what my purpose should be. And so I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason, and kind of taking cues from things that happen in life and, little messages from above. And through that, one day my boyfriend was out fishing on the river, and he found a abandoned calf that had been kind of put in the river. And so he was like, you know what, I'm going to take it home, brought it home, and I bottle raised it. And that was kind of my, she came into our lives, and this sounds so silly, but it was kind of like my little hint to hey, you really need to get back to agriculture, and you really need to find something that you're passionate about connected to agriculture. And so that's kind of where AgChicks came from. Through kind of some conversations, I really realized, women in agriculture are kind of underrepresented. We're really strong and we have a lot we can say, but no one's really asking us our opinions or wanting to hear from us. So that's kind of where everything came from. And that's where the podcast developed. And I have, now that it's been a year since everything's kind of happened, some plans. And I've kind of decided that it's time to kind of put my story in things as well, because hopefully some people can gain some stuff from that as well. And so that's kind of where AgChicks was born and where it came from.
What is the mission? What is the point? What is the whole thought process behind AgChicks? What do you want people to know?
Yeah, it's connecting women and sharing that their stories are important. And no matter what your role is in agriculture or whatever season of life you may be in, you're important, your story matters, and you can literally do anything. And I think that's an important message for not only women, who are established in their life to understand, but especially for young women who have or are needing someone to look up to, or are a little bit unsure of where exactly they kind of fit into the world. I know that was kind of something when I graduated. I didn't have like a dream job. Like I didn't know how all of my passions and all of my interests lined up. And I didn't think that there was something like, oh, like I'm going to go be an insurance agent or something like that. Like nothing sounded like, yeah, that's what I want to do. And so kind of when I started AgChicks, I felt finally like, yeah, this is something that I've been called to do, and this is kind of my purpose and what I should be doing, I guess.
Right. So how did you come up with the idea first of Junk and Disorderly and then also of AgChicks? Like what kind of sparked for you? And like you're a real entrepreneur, and I love that. And I was wondering if you could share a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my mom and I were actually just joking that I am like self-proclaimed like a chronic entrepreneur. Like sometimes it gets bad. I'll literally be driving and call her like 15 times, like, okay, what about this? What about that? But Junk and Disorderly started when I moved to Texas. My parents bought a house here so that I could have residency, and we needed to decorate our house. So we went to Round Top, Texas, and started finding all of these really cool antiques and farmhouse decor. And we were sharing it with people back home in California, and they were going crazy over it. So we decided we would take stuff back there. And that's kind of where that business started. It was originally under a different name. And 3 years ago, my mom and I decided it was going to be something that her and I did together. It was going to be a partnership. And so we were thinking about, what we need a name that sets us apart. And I don't know where it really came from, honestly, but one day I was like, Junk and Disorderly, like we are a hot mess. And then somehow everything comes together at the last second when we are having an event or a barn sale or something like that. So that's kind of where it came from. And then AgChicks, obviously I wanted to have the agriculture side of things in there. And then working for the poultry science department, I felt like I needed to owe some respect there. So that's kind of where the chicks part came in, with the dual meaning, obviously, of women. And then,
how funny. How funny. I love it.
It all came about, but
so nice. Why do you feel it's important to highlight women in agriculture? Yeah. Why is that so important to you? What is it that inspires you about that? Was there something that you experienced where you felt, hey, these voices need to be amplified?
Yeah. So I think that a lot of times women in agriculture are viewed as, the farm wife, which that is a vital role to a lot of established operations. But there's so much more that we can do as women. I mean, you can go farm next to your husband or completely on your own. I just met an individual who, she doesn't have a farming background, but she was like, I want to have a farm. So she like bought a tractor, taught herself how to run the tractor, and is like doing it on her own.
Nice.
And I think, so personally, growing up, I was motivated by my parents to, do whatever you want to do. Nothing, like the limit does not exist as far as things you can do. And so when I got to college, that, I had that mindset going in, but sometimes when you're kind of removed from your comfort zone, things happen where you're kind of have to take a step back, and things that you thought you knew about yourself are completely flipped. And so there were some instances where I was on a team and my opinion or my voice was not taken into consideration because I was a woman. And that really bugged me, because I knew that I had just as much value as the guy I was standing next to, or I even maybe knew more than he did. But because I was a woman, it didn't really matter. And I was kind of used as the prop of, this is how you're supposed to look, this is how you're supposed to talk, and that's the mold you need to fit into, which is crazy because everybody's different. Everybody's different. And to expect women to fit into that mold is such an unrealistic thing. And it's crazy that still, in 2021, we're dealing with that kind of stereotypes and things that we have to work through.
Yeah, not everybody is a super farm mom,
Right.
but there's definitely some great ones out there, isn't there? We just did an article on that,
Yeah.
on a bunch of them. But yeah, we're entrepreneurs. We're so many different things, right? So yeah, I really love that you're bringing that in, those voices forward. So thanks for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
And I was wondering about, like, this is stigma-free society. We talk about mental health, and I was wondering if you could share with me your experience of mental health and, someone who grew up in the ag community. Like, what was that like? And could you share a little about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think growing up, mental health was never really something that we talked about. And it wasn't because we were avoiding it or, we don't talk about that type of thing. It was just something that didn't really come up. And I think growing up in that atmosphere where it's go, 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 and constantly moving and doing different things and staying busy, maybe there wasn't a lot of time to like, okay, this is what I'm feeling, like I need to process that. But and I kind of actually just realized this in November because a similar situation happened. But right before I left for college, so 6 years ago, I was having like crazy heart palpitations. And like, I was like, oh my God, like I'm having a heart attack. I'm dying. Went to the hospital. They couldn't really figure out anything. And it wasn't until last November when this incident happened again, and I was super stressed out about an event, that I realized like, oh my gosh, I had an anxiety attack.
Yeah.
And I'm having another anxiety attack. And that was something that like made me step back and think like, okay, like you are going way too fast. This is like your body telling you you need to slow down. And, stress is something that I always joke that I thrive off of, but it's so negative for your body as well. And so I think personally, it's just stepping back and realizing like, okay, these are feelings. Everybody has feelings, right? No one has a perfect life. Everybody has different things that they have to work through, and that's okay. And through talking to a lot of women who are way more experts on mental health than I am, I've realized that it is such a huge thing in the agriculture community. And I think especially for women in agriculture, especially in that kind of farm wife role, because every day they send their husband off and they're alone all day, raising the kids, doing the laundry, doing the meals, maybe running a small business on the side. And it's almost like you're a single parent while farming is happening or harvesting is happening. And that's really hard for a lot of women. And especially those who didn't maybe grow up in agriculture and see their family go through that as well.
Wow. And you did answer my next question, which is good. And so I was going to say, how are women uniquely impacted? And you touched on that. But I was also hoping you can provide some insight, because a lot of people in urban areas don't really understand the unique challenges that people face in the rural communities and the ag communities. And I was wondering if maybe you could shed some light. What kind of unique challenges when it comes to mental health do these communities really face?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's like a sense of loneliness, or even like just not maybe exile. It's not the right word, but you're far from like you. Sometimes people are 30 minutes to an hour from the nearest grocery store or gas station. So feeling kind of a disconnect maybe from others. And I think COVID obviously put a huge, even bigger barrier on that, as far as just not being able to go get your hair done and talk to the ladies in the hair salon or something like that. And just like the simple things that you kind of take for granted when you're able to interact with people. But again, farming and ranching it's kind of a lonely lifestyle. And for those who are not used to it, or even those who are, it can definitely take a toll on you, especially during those busy seasons. My dad was a farmer, and so he was gone a lot, which growing up as a kid, I guess I'd never really noticed it because he was always there for the big important milestones type thing. But my mom says, it was hard, like raising kids and doing all the things and working full time and all that. And it definitely can take a toll on you if you're not prepared and not able to find resources to kind of help through that as well.
I think a lot of that goes unrecognized, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, that's what I'm sensing for sure. So say if you're living on the farm, you're working on the farm, this is your farm life, how can that impact your mental health? Like maybe positively and negatively?
Yeah, so for me, agriculture has always been kind of my escape from my normal city life or whatever else I may have going on. Livestock have kind of always been my escape. And like my favorite time of day is when in the afternoons or in the evenings when my boyfriend comes home and we go feed the cows and we just get to hang out with the cows. And like, I know that sounds so like weird or so
minimal. It sounds fun. I love cows. Oh.
There's just something so calming around being around animals that it's like almost like they kind of like absorb whatever you're feeling or thinking. And like, I know obviously they can't talk back to you, but they just kind of get it. And like, you don't have to be anybody else when you're around livestock or animals or whatever it may be. You can literally just be yourself. And there's something just really refreshing about that, I think. And that's kind of been my way of dealing with things and coping, I guess.
Do you do goat yoga?
I don't. I've never done that, but I really want to because we have goats in California, and we've actually like said like we need to try goat yoga with these things because that's such a like popular thing right now.
It is. We had an article written on our new toolkit, the Rule Toolkit. So I hope you can check that out and you can learn a little bit about goat yoga and some other things as well. It's really, really fun so from what I hear, but I don't have any goats around my house.
Darn it. No experience.
I'll have to come visit you someday.
Yes.
What is the future for AgChicks? Like, tell me a little bit about that. Like, I know you have quite a following on social media, and what are your plans for the future?
Well, that is $1 million question right now.
Yeah.
We actually just attended a retreat with Natalie Kovarik, her Rural Rooted retreat. So a lot of thought has been going into AgChicks lately. And one of the biggest things I think is I'm actually going to be rebranding my podcast from The Dirt to just strictly AgChicks. Things just kind of make a little bit more sense across all the platforms. And then I really hope to kind of grow it more as a community and hopefully have some agriculture advocacy speaking gigs lined up and just kind of continue to spread awareness about agriculture, women in agriculture, and just all of the things that go into help feeding the world.
Yeah. One thing we're doing at the Stigma-Free Society is we are training facilitators to be peer support facilitators and to bring peer support into the different communities. And Texas, that's where you are now, right?
Yes, correct. Yep.
So we've had some interest there and we want to eventually expand over there. And we are focusing in on women entrepreneurs actually for our first cohort in July. So we'll definitely have to connect. I feel like, women have that connection with women. It's very special. And I would really love to share more with you on that after the fact, for sure.
Yes, that sounds like an exciting opportunity. That would be great.
Yeah, for sure. And so what inspires you to do the work of speaking out about mental health in agricultural communities? What lights your fire?
Yeah, that's a great question. Everybody always jokes that like I'm like just a kind of a go-getter and a grinder and I just kind of do what needs to be done. But like I said, there's been a lot of self-reflection lately. And I think what really kind of inspires me to keep going is just the fact that there may be somebody out there that doesn't feel like they have a voice or that they don't matter. And if by some way they come across my page or they hear me say something or hear maybe a woman that I've interviewed say something and they can connect with that, then I've done something good and I've done something worthwhile. And so it's really just maybe the young girl who doesn't know what she wants to do or doesn't feel like she has a place, or maybe it's the mom who's staying at home with the kids all day who just kind of feels hopeless, but she hears something and thinks, hey, I could start, a t-shirt business or whatever it may be, and kind of give somebody else a little bit of hope to kind of get through whatever situation that they're in.
Love that. Very good. Yeah. Inspirational. So I was wondering too, like you were talking about, I know you call it an anxiety attack. I call it a panic attack, but it's the same thing, right? And so you obviously suffer with these mental health issues and you noticed yourself getting stressed out and having to deal with these challenges. So how have you stayed well? Like what does that look like for you? Maybe somebody out there, and like in an agricultural sense as well, I think would be really special to kind of share that context if possible. Yeah. But how do you stay well?
Yeah, so I've really realized that like self-care is like a huge thing. And whether that's like I can take a 15-minute walk with the dogs in the afternoon, or, go hang out with the cows for 10 minutes while I feed them and just brush Willow, who's our bottle calf, or mow the lawn even. That's another thing that's so weird, but I find so satisfying just to like pop in some headphones and mow one section of the grass and just kind of disconnect from whatever the heck I may have going on. But it's really kind of learning to check in with myself, like, hey, you have this, and this coming up. Like, don't get too overwhelmed, because you know what happens when you get too overwhelmed and then nothing else can get done. I'm a big firm believer in to-do lists. When I'm starting to get overwhelmed, I like checking off things.
Yeah, me too.
And I think just even like where I'm trying to get better too, social media has been something where I think it's an excellent tool, but it can also be kind of crippling in a sense, to where you get caught up in like comparing yourself to other people or other people's businesses. And that is extremely toxic sometimes.
Yeah.
So using the unfollow button is definitely helpful.
And the block.
And the block, yes, definitely block.
And less time, right? Less time on that.
Yeah, and honestly, being very focused when I go on the apps and saying, okay, I'm going to give myself 15 minutes to do this, this, and this. And at the end of those 15 minutes, if it's not done, I'm putting my phone away for 2 hours to accomplish whatever else I need to accomplish. So just kind of trying to be mindful and everything, and try to avoid getting overwhelmed, which that rarely happens, but just checking in.
Well, what I'm hearing is like it's all about the balance, right?
Yeah.
And creating harmony. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I was not good at for a very long time. And so learning how to do it, and I think everybody's going to have to figure that out a little bit on their own, as far as, what works for them and what helps them be productive and not feel like they're just drowning in everything. But
yeah, good advice. Definitely. Especially with the social media part. I spend a lot less time myself. It's been good.
Yeah.
And the news. Anyway.
Yes, definitely the news. Just turn it off. Just turn it off.
Yeah. Focus in on the good.
Yes.
And so to close off, I was just going to ask you, for women, maybe even men in rural communities, agricultural communities, what is a message you would like to get out to them? And just could you share something like a mantra or advice even?
Yeah. So I think, again, we get caught up a lot in what other people are doing. And one thing that I've really learned lately is you have to kind of block all of that out. And if it's not important to you, then it's not going to be important, to anybody else. And you really have to kind of put your heart and soul into everything you're doing and be passionate about it and truly enjoy it if you want anyone else to get anything out of it. So really lately I've been focusing on what my why is and why I'm doing things. And it honestly has kind of changed my outlook on life and my perspective on things, because if it doesn't connect to my why, then why am I worrying about it? It's really going to be insignificant. And so really just kind of focusing on what, what's important to you and what matters. And that's the stuff that's going to matter in 5 years, being late to a meeting or something just kind of stupid like that. Like
someone being jealous of you, or he said stuff.
Not getting enough likes on a post or something stupid.
Yeah.
That's not going to matter in a couple years. So at the end of the day, I want to be able to say, you know what, like I stayed true to myself, and that was important to me at the time. And then I think everything will hopefully pan out.
Oh, definitely. Well, thank you so much, Allie. Please stay on the live stream so I can thank you personally when we are done. And I really appreciate your authenticity, honesty, and thanks for inspiring us. So I as well want to tell our viewers, you can still purchase documentary tickets. Come to stigmafreesociety.com and just click the fundraiser tab, and you will see the 3 events there. This marathon, which is happening right now, you can donate. We please ask you to support our cause, especially during COVID-19 when mental health is top of mind and affecting so many people. Again, stigmafreesociety.com, click on donate, and you can check out more about the details of the fundraiser and the premiere documentary tonight at the fundraiser tab. So thank you everybody so much. We have one last interview with Daniel Toe, district principal for the Surrey School District, coming up after this, and much appreciate your support. We hope to see your donations. We really care about our stigma-free community. And thank you, Ali. Have a lovely day.
Thank you.